Hello, and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 6th grade concept of classifying numbers. This is standard 6.2a in the great state of Texas, and we're using item number 24 of the 2024 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. All right, so we have these graphic organizers. We've got 4 numbers that we need to classify here. We need to find which one works best for us. So you notice that each of these have rational numbers, whole numbers, and integers, and they're just in different combinations. So let's define each of those. And actually, we need to start with one that's not on here. The simplest classification is called natural numbers. Sometimes we'll call them counting numbers. And that's how we start teaching our youngest students to count, right? We start counting with 1, 2, 3. We're just counting whole numbers, and we just go on and on and on. So that's the smallest set. The next set is whole numbers. It's kind of strange we have a whole separate set. It's all the counting numbers plus 0. Now, when we start counting, we don't teach our kids to start counting with 0, but we know that 0 is important. So counting numbers or natural numbers kind of fit inside this category of whole numbers because whole numbers is a little bit bigger. It only includes an extra number, 0. That's it. That's the only difference. Then, so that gets us our whole numbers, right? Now we need to look at what are integers and what are rational numbers. So integers are whole numbers, think of it like that, that are both negative and positive. -2, -1, 0, and then we've got a, +1, +2, and it goes on and on, but this time it goes on and on infinity in both directions. Okay, so integers can be positive or negative, and then finally we get rational numbers. Now those can be a lot of different things. Think of that word ratio you see in there. Rational numbers can be anything that can be represented with a ratio. So I can represent 2 as a ratio because I can represent it as 2 over 1. That's a rational number. I can also have a fraction, like 1/3, right? I can also have a percent, 75%, because I can represent that as a ratio if I want to, 75 over 100. So you get into decimals, right? I can have 1.2, because I can represent that as a ratio if I really wanted to, 12 over 10. So there's a lot of different numbers that you can get into in forms, fractions, decimals, and percents in the rational numbers. Now let's take a look at our numbers here. So this 3/8. The 3/8 is definitely not a natural number because it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a whole number because it is a fraction. It's not an integer because it's not a whole number that's negative or positive. So it's only a rational number. Okay? Look at this 25, right? Now, we're not necessarily counting this one, but it is a natural counting number. But let's say it's a whole number. It is an integer as well because it's positive and negative, and it's going to be irrational. If it's a whole number, it's automatically going to be integer and rational. Look at this -10. It's not a natural counting number. It's not a whole number, but it is an integer, which means if it's an integer, it'd be a rational number. And then finally, this 0.163, 163 thousandths. That is not a natural number, whole number, or integer, simply a rational number. So I need something that's got these two rational numbers kind of sticking out. I see that right here. And then I've got the 25 as both a whole number and an integer, and that's not going to work. Okay, so let's move down here. Got these two rational numbers sticking out here. I've got my -10. Right? My -10 was my integer and my whole number, so it's in both. And then my 25 is just my whole number. Okay, that looks good. This one's got my rational number and my negative, 3/8 out there, but it's got these two flipped, right? It's got the integers inside the whole numbers, and the whole numbers need to be inside the integers. And then finally, this one has got the -3/8 in the wrong spot. Okay, so this one is going to be our best, B.